The passage we just read is from the book of Numbers. If you know the book of Numbers, it's a series of accounts that records what happened after Israelites got out of Egypt. And I would like to explain the background a little bit more. So we just have heard that the account goes like this. There were 12 spies being sent to scout the land. And they started from the south tip of today we call Palestine, the land of Palestine territory. And they go all the way up to Rehob, which is the northern tip, close to Assyria today. And the reason why they go and scout the land is to see what the promised land is like, so they can bring back the report to the Israelites. So up to this point, we need to ask, so what's the purpose of sending the spies to the land in the first place? If we truly remember, when we go back to the account, we realize the very reason why the Israelites are in the Sinai Peninsula is because the Lord God brought them out of Egypt, the land of slavery. And yet, the purpose of leaving Egypt to the Israelites is to be delivered from the slavery bondage. But that is not what God has in mind for them. The very reason why God wants them to be out of Egypt is go to promised land. So at this point, they have left Egypt, and they were in the wilderness anywhere perhaps from 2 months to 2 years. We do not know exact time that the 12 spies were sent to scout the land. But at this point, I would like to ask you a question. As you have just heard the passage Lena read, I want to test your memory. Who initiated this action? Who initiated this action of sending spies to the land and scout the place? Israelites. Is it? Who started? Who actually sent the 12 spies saying, hey, you guys, you need to go. Go scout the land. Now we have Dr. Lau say, probably Israelites. But do you guys remember what was read? Lena, you probably don't remember. Who started? Can someone find the verse and read out loud? Maybe I ask Lena, go back to Numbers chapter 13 again. The Lord. Interesting. As we realize what happened, what the story turns out, that wasn't a favorable story or the result. And the whole thing was started by God. God asked Moses, now you go pick 12 spies and go into the land and scout the land and ask them to bring back reports. Now today I would like to use this time to help us to ponder upon the passage, and perhaps we can learn something from the passage. One is can we learn something from the responses from these three groups of people? Who are they? We realize there are actually three groups of people here. Definitely, there were 12 spies. But among them, there are actually two groups, two subgroups. One is the 10 spies who brought back a bad report. And there were also Caleb and Joshua. They reported differently. And lastly, there is the other group, which is the people of Israelites. What can we learn from them? And can we learn what is true faith from this account? And if we can understand what faith is about, perhaps we will learn how to exercise our faith. As I mentioned before, if we're able to read the passage in a way we can picture them in a different groups. Sean, you have anything to do? Yes, may I ask you to sit down and worship together? So let us focus on the first group I mentioned. So the 10 groups here, we realize those groups, they have a different response after they scout the land. So they come back. And let us focus what type of tone they have brought forth. They say to the people, the land through which we had gone to spy it out is a land that devours its inhabitants, and all its people that we saw in it are of great height. I'm not sure, have you ever been to any place you realize you step into the land, you can be devoured. It's like a sinkhole, a quicksand. You go in there, you're going to die. So from what they have reported, they come back to the people and say, you know what? This is a land. Let me tell you, if you go in there, you are going to die. Your whole family, you are going to die. Because it's a land that devours its inhabitants. And it's funny, and later on say, all the people that we saw in it are of great height. Now we see a contradiction here. On one hand, they say this land, if you step in it, it's going to be a sinkhole. All of you people, all of your life, your family, your kids, your parents are going to all be devoured in the land. At the same time, they say all the people there, we do see people there, they are great height. In a word, they are giants. So how could that be? In a way, they say, well, the land is there, it actually devour people. Maybe earthquake or anything, quicksand. There's nowhere to live, and yet we see people there. And they're great height. So the message they are trying to convey and express deep in their heart is, we cannot go there. No, the land's terrible, it's horrible. The people there, they are big. And you know what? And later on say, and we saw the Nephilim, the son of Enoch, who comes from Nephilim, and we seem to be to ourselves like grasshopper, so we seem to them. So in their minds, as 10 spies, when they saw the land, not only what they see is something really horrible, it's a condition that you couldn't live, and the people they are very big, and it turns back and telling other people, and not only that, not only they are big, when we look at ourselves, we are like a grasshopper. There's no way. We couldn't go there. Can you imagine a grasshopper? I don't know, you have, this is summertime, right? In your house, you may have something that kills flies. Right now, those made in China, it looks like a paddle, right? It's electrical. You can zap the flies. This is what the 10 spies are saying to the Israelites. You know what? Not only the land is horrible, and there are already people in there. Not only that, when we look at ourselves, we are like grasshopper. We are like flies. And they got those electric zappers. They're going to kill us in a second. There's no way we can go. That's a report they are bringing to the Israelites. Let us see what else they say. So at the end, first, they see the land. It's a land that kills people, a land with great enemies, a land with giants are going to kill you or kill me. And not only that, when they look at themselves, they consider themselves as grasshoppers. So at the end, they tell all others, they say, so, we are not able to go up against the people, for they are stronger than we are. So they made a conclusion. They see the land, they did an assessment, and they look at themselves, and finally they persuade people, say, let us not go. Let us not go. They see the trouble, they amplify, they exaggerate how small we are, how weak we are, and finally tell others, don't go. We don't go. Nobody go. We are not able to go. Have we ever done that? There is some mission or some challenge or some task or some goal in your life or in your family's life, in your peers' life, that perhaps your teacher, your parents, or your leader say, let's go there. Let's conquer that. Let's overcome that. I still remember when I was in school, I have friends. Whenever a teacher give us an assignment, and they realized they couldn't do it, and my friend will say, well, you know what, I'm not going to do that task. I'm going to be absent on that day when we need to hand in the report. So not only they decide not to show up, they decide to tell all of our friends not to show up. Cut class together. Because we want to fail, we fail together. It's a way to have their own security. I don't know we have done that in our lives or not. It's like when we are children, we go play and we didn't follow the rule, and sometimes we want to do something. And you know what? We don't want to be a lone ranger. We want to pull others to go ahead with us. We don't want to face that challenge. That's what the 10 people do. And let us look at, there are two different in the group. which they are unique. They are Joshua and Caleb. Let us look at what the response they brought forth. Caleb in particular tell the people, saying, the land which we passed through to spy it out is an exceedingly good land. This is funny. Those 12 spies, they saw different lands or the same land? Did they spy the same land or different land? They spied the same land. They experienced the same thing. However, 10 saw them as horrible. It's not because the land is no good, but it's horrible to them. They couldn't face it. They couldn't take it. And at the end, they want to go back and persuade other people, say, let's not go there. Don't go there. But these two say, no, the land which we passed through to spy it out is an exceedingly good land. You know why they thought that way? Because they already knew. Moses already told them, God said, this is a promised land I have prepared for you. You go and spy it out. And not only they truly see there were good fruits in there. It's a very fertile land. It's a very good land. They also bring back the report saying it is an exceedingly good land. How funny that it is. Exactly the same thing. And yet, they brought back different report because they see what God sees. Secondly, he said, if God delights in us, he will bring us into this land and give it to us. The land that flows with milk and honey. Wow, a land flows with milk, honey. I don't know, have you ever passed through Route 55? There's an ice cream store. And it shows from milk, from cow to corn in 3 days. It's a fertile land there. It flows with milk and honey. And in their mind, in Caleb and Joshua's mind, they do not see the problem. They see the promise. Exact same land. And they say, wow, this is what God has prepared for us. And it's a good land that flows with milk and honey. And not only that, he said, if the Lord delights in us. That is, when he evaluates the land, the evaluation doesn't come from himself alone. There is someone else, a higher position, with a higher authority, kind of direct his thinking. He said, if the Lord delights in us, it's something for us. I want to do something that's delightful for the Lord. However, the other 10, they want to do something they feel secure for themselves. But Caleb have a different mindset. So at the end, Caleb said to the people, so do not fear the people of the land, for they are feared for us. Their protection is removed from them. Because God will protect them. The Lord will protect them. And at the end, even though he said at the beginning, let us go up at once and occupy it, for we are well able to overcome it. Let us see the difference between these two groups. First of all, we realize the spies, they didn't volunteer to go. None of the 12 were volunteered, saying, hey, Moses, I want to go. Now the Lord said to Moses, you choose. You select 12 people from the tribes and be the spy. They were chosen. They were asked. A lot of people say, I don't want to be asked what to do. Don't tell me what to do. I have my own life. But these 12, they were chosen. And what's the difference between these two groups? The 10 spies, they focus on themselves. And they see and care what they can see and care. Their evaluation of the situation solely depends on what they see. And this is their reality. And in turn, they bring fear to others. They don't want other people to be brave. They don't want other people to step forward. If they lay back, they want other people to lay back as well. And so they discourage others. They see the scouting as a duty. Where Caleb and Joshua, they know the land is difficult. They do see the giant as well. They do see other people, they are taller than they are. They knew. They know. But when they see something, they also involve God's promise as their thinking process, as their evaluation of the situation, as their assessment. We too, oftentimes, we may face a relationship problem, a job issue, a financial challenge, a health issue. If we are among the 10 spies, our entire evaluation is based on our grade report, our bank account, our health report. But where Caleb and Joshua, their assessment of life and future and their planning is based on God's promise. And in turn, they bring the vision to others. They want to encourage others to go along, to see what they see. They have a different eyesight. They have a different pair of glasses. Where the people, like 10 spies, they only see what they see. Caleb and Joshua seeing something they have been told as a privilege to serve. If we see ourselves being called to serve as being asked, being told, we will never serve with joy. If husbands were told, you need to love your wife, otherwise you will be reprimanded. Your 401k, your salary will be cut in half. Perhaps husbands will try to love their wife and serve their wife, but they never see it as something joyful. Same thing with children. If children were told, that you need to do family chore. Otherwise, you won't have allowance. You won't have free time with your friends. You won't go to any entertainment or some fun park. Well, they do it. But they do with grumble. They do with complaint. And eventually want to grab all his peers or her peers, say, well, that's all say no to our parents. Because there's no joy. I want to do the thing I like to do. Drinking Coke all day long, playing video game, that satisfies what I need. And seeing doing the chore is difficult for me. I don't want to do it. And let us see what happened to the people there. The people saying to Moses, all the congregation raised a loud cry, and the people wept that night. Once they have the report, the people, what happened? They worry all night long. They heard two reports. One report saying, well, this is a great challenge. We couldn't do it. And yet there's a minority report saying, well, it's great land. Great fruit we're going to enjoy. Let's go to the land. But all the people take the words from the 10 spies. And they cry, then worry, and the night become a sleepless night. All night long. Oftentimes, we live in this world. We face different challenges. Meanwhile, the Bible tells us the great promise ahead is that we need to grow and we need to rely on Him, and He's going to give us something even more abundant, that beyond our imagination. And yet, there are others telling us, well, you know what? Spending time online is better. Having an affair is better. Stealing money is better. Wasting your life is better. Because a drug can really make you worry-free. Why work hard? Why challenge yourself? And the people, like most of us, thinking, well, if I can lay back, if I can enjoy my own security, why take the challenge? The challenge makes me afraid. The challenge maybe is going to a new environment. The challenge maybe is a bad health report. Should you go through the operation or not? The challenge maybe is a relationship. It's a time you apologize to the people you have hurt. And we say to ourselves, no, we couldn't do it. We cry, we say to the Lord, come on, give us a different plan. And they even say to the Lord, would that we had died in the land of Egypt? Or would that we had died in this wilderness? So they have decided not to go to a promised land. And they complain to Moses, we'd rather die here, even though we are in the wilderness, even though we are going around aimlessly. And you know what? We'd rather go back to Egypt. We'd rather be slaves, because that's something we are used to. We are used to. And they start having doubts, not only to the leadership of Moses, they even have doubt to God. Why is the Lord bringing us into this land to fall by the sword? They start to get angry at God. God, you bring us here. Your purpose is trying to kill us, aren't you? You know what? They forgot. They forgot why they were here. They forgot all the miracles God has done in their life. How quickly they could forget. And they want to go back. They even want to choose another leader. The people of Israel, they were influenced by the words. And their value system is based on what they see, they experience. And they did not remember what the Lord has done for them. And therefore, going to a new land is dangerous. They were just out of Egypt not too long ago. So they want to go back. They want to retreat. Joshua and Jacob evaluated the situation differently, with faith, based on God, based on God's promise. Does this mean once we have faith, we can conquer everything? I tell you, definitely not. When I was young, you know what my dream is? I wish I could dunk. Right? I wish I can jump, I can touch the rim. I wish I can be very attractive. I can have many girlfriends. And meanwhile, do very well at school. No, it didn't happen. The promises were not from the Lord. But how about now? We are Christians. What are the promises from the Lord? Israelites were promised with a good land with good fruit. How about us, Christians today? We have been promised with the fruit of the Spirit. Love, gentleness, kindness, self-control. All of those characters. The Lord said to us, you can get that in the Lord. Go in there and challenge yourself. You scout the land. You see how good that is. And you do need to evaluate yourself. Then you realize, indeed, those 10 spies were right. They are not able to conquer this land. They're absolutely right. Today, we have been promised with the fruit of Spirit. And we look at those, love, kindness, gentleness, self-control, and so on. We realize we couldn't do it. That's exactly what God wants us to see. We cannot do it. But these 2 spies say, we can still go in there. Why? Because the Lord is on our side. And therefore, there's a victory. And to us, we can get those characters. We can get the fruit of the Spirit when we know Jesus is on our side. But we need to move forward. We need to go into the promised land as taking the action, say, all right, the Lord, you need to come with me. Otherwise, I cannot do it. Please, I cannot do it. My faith needs to be in your word, and in the process, I also need to rely on you alone. Otherwise, I cannot do it. As preparing the sermon today, you may not be able to imagine. I had many sleepless nights. My jaws were swollen because I'm planning to have a youth worship today. I'm so nervous. My wife can testify. And I keep saying to myself, what? You can see the swelling here. What's going on? Because in my mind, I say, well, God has promised this church that I'm going to bring the youngster, English-speaking people to get that promised land, to truly know the Lord, to learn how to worship. And meanwhile, as I'm preparing, I'm telling people you need to have faith. I realized I didn't have faith myself. I realized I need to have the Lord to come along with me, to conquer it. Today, we may be asked to do different things. Let us be like Joshua and Caleb, seeing as a privilege to assess the situation with the Lord's promise, and also encourage others to go along to take the land. You know how funny that is? I feel God is doing something, in a way, very foolish. What happened if God did not ask Moses to send 12 spies? Why didn't God just tell the Israelites, you just go. You just go into the land. They probably don't know what happened. They follow Moses and they just go into the land. But what God is doing is saying, they're going to choose a few gifted people. And it is your job to tell the goodness of promised land. And use your language to tell your peer. So we work together. And let them know it is difficult. Nothing is easy. Because if it's not difficult, we do not know how to rely on the Lord. Today, originally, we designed today as a day we ask all the youth to serve the lunch and clear the entire church. Is it difficult? We know it is difficult. But it's a way, once people start doing it, they can bring this vision to their peer. May we learn from these three groups and be a warning and be an encouragement for me to conquer the land with Lord's promise and His leading and His help. May I ask Lena to do a closing prayer for us?